Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as we have some worrying/concerning update from Erik ten Hag about Jadon Sancho and the unlikelihood that he will actually be back training with the team for the game against Burnley next week. We've also got updates on Moukoko again and Cody GAKPO, who Manchester United are now considered to be odds on to sign. We'll also be talking about a little bit about a Chelsea player that United have been linked to that I think is rather interesting as well. But look, let's fly straight into it. An update from Erik ten Hag about Jadon Sancho that many of you may have read late last night, certainly this morning. And effectively, it comes down to this. Jadon Sancho is training away from Manchester United and will not return until he is physically and mentally ready to play for the club again. Sources stressed that Ten Hag spotted the drop-off in Sancho's performance and advised him to follow an individual training programme to improve his fitness and mindset. And his training programme is seen as a reset away from Manchester United's training squad. Now, there is also an article from Samuel Luckhurst in the Manchester Evening News that I want to go through as well. But effectively, that is quite a significant update. And, you know, Manchester United, professional football club, they're always going to try, quite rightly, to reduce the impact on a story might have. So it could be, we might only be getting a very broad stroke summary of what's going on. But to say that Jadon Sancho is training away still from Manchester United and will not return until he's physically and most importantly mentally ready to play for the club again is rather significant. And I was thinking about this before I came, and Chris Farah says, thoughts on Sancho. Have you found your controller? I'm hoping to find it this morning. And thanks, Levy. He says he loves the setup. There was a bit of a poll on That's Football last night. It was controversial. Remind me of that in a bit. But the point I'm trying to make about Jadon Sancho, and it's a very serious point, is that I was trying to think of a player, not just at Manchester United, but at any football club, where it's been publicly stated that they are taking time away in a different country to reset their mind and physical side of things. And there are some interesting quotes from Erik ten Hag I want to go through, but obviously this is a community, so it's not just about responding to the news, it's also about, having an opinion and a bit of a chat. And I think that, look, first and foremost, I was really happy when we signed Jadon Sancho. I'm not going to be one of those people who say, oh, we flop or anything like that. I like the player, I like the way he plays football. Have I been disappointed by what he's delivered at Manchester United? Yes, but that's not a bad thing. You can call that out. Obviously, there is clearly, very, very clearly an issue here mentally with the player. So you don't want to be criticising in a way that's abusive, and I certainly wouldn't do that. But I do believe that the physical and mental thing doesn't surprise me. They almost go hand in hand with high-level sports athletes anyway. His performance on the pitch has been poor, and physically, that obviously, was a physical game. And mentally, I think it's had an impact on him as well. And what we must remember is that he is a young player that was bought for £74 million from the Bundesliga, but he's an English player, and that brings its own expectations that he's going to light United up, light the Premier League up, and be an England regular. Well, he didn't go to the World Cup, and that England team is very close-knit. I was saying yesterday that I see people like Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire talking about England, and I, it might just be me, but I feel as if they enjoy England more than they do Man United. And I'm like, that England setup is obviously, a big thing to these English players, and Jadon Sancho is obviously not part of that. His Manchester United career is not going as well as he would want. So I think it's just been a bit of a drop-off. And who else knows, and nobody else knows what else might be going on in his private life. But on the pitch, he's not been performing this season. And I want to go through some Erik ten Hag comments on this, because I think it's really important to get it's very important to get the manager's perspective. And this is what Erik ten Hag had to say about Jadon Sancho. And he basically said that, look, he was good during pre-season, but also when the league started, he played some good games. like Liverpool, Leicester and Arsenal. But after that, we got a drop-off level, and what happens sometimes is you don't know why it's causing it. That is what we're doing. We're trying to research now and try and get him back there. It's a combination of physical, but also mentally. These are the words of Erik ten Hag. Most of the time, the drop in form comes slowly. On the tour, he played really well. The start of the league, he played well. And after the break, his performance was lower. First, you observe, but then also the stats back it up. And in the start of the season, he had goals and assists and his key moments and key actions, and it became less and less and less. I think there's huge competition in England. When I see the front line, the manager really has choices, even in the World Cup. For him, every game is difficult who to start because there's so much talent in the offensive line and there's a big competition now. When you don't show it week by week, you can fall out of the squad, which is what has happened, obviously, with Jadon Sancho. And he also goes on to say that, look, there is doubt that he will be back playing for the Burnley game, by the way. He is not back with Manchester United, and he is not expected to be back anytime soon. Obviously, he missed our last 4 games before the World Cup break as well. But this is what Ten Hag has said on Jadon Sancho returning. He says he's not fit enough to be here. First, we didn't see him the last games for United, so he wasn't in the right status, in the right fitness state. So now he's on an individual programme, and we want him to finish that programme, and hopefully we see him back soon. He's not here. We want to bring him back as quickly as possible, but I can't give a prognosis of when that will be. I've had several talks with Jadon. I don't think he will be back next week, no. Sometimes there are circumstances with fitness and mood. Now he's on a physical programme, and our aim is to get him back as quickly as possible. Senior United sources maintain Sancho has not been exiled, and figures at the club have been impressed by how delicately Ten Hag has handled the situation. There's been a number of conversations with him, and I think that look, the really interesting thing for me, he's not here. This is quotes from Ten Hag. He's not here. We want him back as quickly as possible, but I can't give a prognosis of when that will be. I don't think he'll be back next week. Sometimes there are circumstances where it's fitness and mood, and he's on a physical programme, obviously, to improve that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I just don't remember us ever having that sort of a situation where, he's not been part of the World Cup. He wasn't part of the last 4 games before the World Cup. And the World Cup's been going on for 6 weeks, and he's still not back training with the team. It is unusual. It is unusual, and I think that's why, with it being unusual, you've got to be very delicate with it, because Nick says that a lot of people say Sancho can play as a number 10, but I don't think he has Bruno's work rate. Love the channel, 1 month member. Thank you, Nick. Just big shout out to the members, by the way. Episode 2 of our quiz is coming out today, where you can play interactively. It's in the studio. It's me against Beth today, so don't miss it. If you are a member, check that out. If you want to be a member, click the join button and get extra content and obviously your badges as well. Thank you very much for your support. Times End, who's a member, says, why do we attract problem after problem? And Taylor says, I'm sure a family member passed away not long ago as well. Yeah, I think that... I think it's really difficult to, delve into the mental side of things, because it's not, mental health and mental issues and stress and things like that are very personal, and we don't, there's absolutely no point, and I would urge anybody to not focus on that. What we can focus on is the fitness side of things and the performance side of things. It is unusual. But I would applaud Erik ten Hag again, and I would applaud Manchester United again for actually communicating, because I think it would be very easy to just not communicate. In fact, I can think of a previous manager and a previous regime who wouldn't communicate. They'd just smile and say everything's fine. And I think, obviously, it's not fine. We know that Jadon Sancho's come off social media. Now, look, the loss of a family member is very, very, very sad and can have an impact on people. But would that take you off social media? I think that there is, and I don't want to speculate, but I think that there is clearly an issue in handling the expectations of where he thinks he should be. And that's difficult for anybody. We all set our own targets. And I just think he's struggling. I think maybe the World Cup harmed him more than he thought, than we thought it would. Because his Manchester United career is not that bad. I know his first season at United wasn't great, but he started the season off well under Erik ten Hag, and then something went wrong, and it seemed to be around that international break that things just started to go wrong, and he maybe that was when he realised he wasn't going to go to the World Cup. And look, pure speculation, and we shouldn't do this, but maybe not going to the World Cup has really hit him hard. Maybe that has bothered him not going to go and play in a World Cup. But Jadon Sancho is young enough to play in the next World Cup. And if I'm absolutely honest, look at the favouritism that Southgate has for Raheem Sterling. He brought Raheem Sterling on ahead of Marcus Rashford, who'd scored 3 goals. Sancho would have been sat on the bench chatting with James Maddison anyway. Southgate is not the manager for Jadon Sancho. And, you know, I hope he's got the right people around him to say these things. That, you know, you should be an England squad, but even if you'd played well, I think you would have been frustrated anyway. Hi Mark, love the show. Random question: if PSG offered Mbappe for Rashford, would you take it? Well, I think that'd be a very, very interesting conversation, Farhan. I don't think I would, but I think I'd be an idiot to do that. And Arjun says, maybe we create the mental problems as a club ourselves. With high transfer fees and wage comes high expectations. Therefore, mental problems can happen, says Arjun. Well, look, you know what? I'm not urging people to do this, but there were issues with Dortmund and Jadon Sancho. You know, and look, they were only the public issues. Who knows what was going on? I don't know the personality of Jadon Sancho, and I can't speculate on that, and therefore nobody else should. But I think this is a young man that's obviously struggling with his career at the moment, and I just hope he's getting the support around him to appreciate the career that he has. Not everybody plays for England, not everybody goes to World Cup, and certainly hardly anybody plays for Manchester United. That number 7 shirt's up for grabs. Like, you're a £74 million signing. Now, Erik Ten Hag didn't sign you, and Erik Ten Hag can wash his hands of you and say, I don't think you're good enough, and nobody could criticise Erik Ten Hag for that. But I'm telling you now, I wanted Erik Ten Hag before he came to the club, and I immediately thought that if you'd have given me 5 players that will improve and suit Ten Hag that he doesn't need to sign, Jadon Sancho would have been one of those. I think he absolutely suits the way that Ajax played under Ten Hag and the way that Ten Hag wants to play. So it's massively frustrating that there is this current issue, but I just hope, and I think, again, the club in the way that Ten Hag have dealt with it is correct. We, as a fan base, are very supportive, and, you know, he will get supported. And I think that we just have to get him back and playing so that this doesn't happen again, really. Typical of the modern game, really far too hyped up and can't live up to it, then he gets buried. I hope Erik Ten Hag would have signed him. He's a flop, facts. I doubt said he would have signed him, says David. And Nek has just gifted 1 United Stand membership. Thank you very much to Nek there. Thank you very much if you got it. Solid Blake got it. There you go. He says, thank you very much. Early Christmas present. Thank you very much. Don't forget to check out the quiz that's going up today. But what I would also say as well is that you've got to be very, very careful. Well, everyone can make their own mind up, but we don't want to be sympathy FC. And I think under another manager, we almost became that. It's great that players are able to speak about the issues of being a professional footballer. But on the other hand, there are issues of working in Tesco. There are issues of studying for your GCSEs. There are issues of not being able to pay your food bill. Like, everybody has issues, and ultimately, for me, footballers are in a very. It's all I ever wanted to be. All I ever wanted to be was a footballer, and I think we would all take the stresses of being a modern footballer to do it. So I don't have sympathy for the modern footballer. I'm sorry, I don't. Especially Manchester United ones, they get paid ridiculous amounts of money to do something we would all do for free. But what we shouldn't do is, and I don't think any of you would, is criticise or get frustrated with them because they can't handle the pressures. That's just human nature. What we have to do is judge it on a footballing point of view. And although David was quite harsh there, thank you for being a member for 8 months, Deacon. There is absolutely nothing wrong with anybody in the live chat saying, I don't think Jadon Sancho's good enough, we need to get rid of him. If it's based on a footballing decision. That can never be wrong. We can't live in a world where we're giving out first prize to last place. Like, it's competitive sport. And if you don't think Jadon Sancho is good enough for Manchester United, I'm not going to sit here and go, you're a bloody disgrace. He's struggling out there in the Netherlands with physical and stress and mental issues, and you're saying sell him. I can't say I can't say that if you're saying, well, I want to sell him because I just don't, what I've seen, I just don't think he suits the system. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's where we've got to be careful, because you see it with Harry Maguire, we've seen it with Luke Shaw, we've seen it with David De Gea, Paul Pogba, Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, there's a debate there about whether they should stay or whether they should go. And the minute it becomes about, oh, you know, it's not fair, people are always talking about them negatively. Well, it is fair, because people are talking about them negatively because they don't think they're good enough to play for Manchester United. The footballing criticism is fine, but we've also got to remember that in this case it's quite unprecedented that we have a player who didn't go to the World Cup, effectively has been unavailable for 2 months because of whatever's going on. So my hope is that United continue to deal with it like they are, that we continue to get the updates. And what I can guarantee you is that if Jadon Sancho gets himself back to be on the bench for the Forest game just after Christmas, and he comes on with 20 minutes to go, he'll feel the appreciation of Manchester United fans, which will hopefully give him the boost. But I agree with Ten Hag, he's got to do it every week. Consistency is the problem. And I think with Sancho, when he does come back, and hopefully he does come back, and I'm sure he will come back, and I'm sure we'll all support him, he's got you know what? The overarching word with everybody at Manchester United, you can almost write it on the entrance to Carrington and change it to consistency. We are not consistent. You know, whether it's Bruno Fernandes, Harry Maguire, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, the club altogether. Paul Pogba used to be like it as well. On their day, we can beat anyone. But can they do it consistently for a month? And we don't see enough of that. And I think that's what Ten Hag is talking about. He needs the consistency because, you know, Jadon Sancho had a good start to the season and then he's fell off a bit. If you're playing for Leicester, that might be fine. But if you're playing for Man United, it gets noticed if you drop off. Charlie says, hanging on to players too long and letting them run their contract down, which ends with them leaving on a free. Sell Jadon now whilst we still can. Well, I'm not even going to do a poll on that because I think it's insensitive to want to sell Jadon Sancho. And I 100% don't want to sell Jadon Sancho. And also, I think it's not just about selling Jadon Sancho. There is a duty of care to Jadon Sancho quite clearly when he's not able to link up with the team and train at the moment and he's having to do an individual plan. I think United are doing the right thing and there is a duty of care there to, you know, see what can be done over the next few months. And my prediction is he'll be back playing for Manchester United in the new year and playing well, but we'll have to wait and see. Marcus Stevenson, thank you very much and welcome to the Members Club. Okay, so look, an interesting / very concerning update on Jadon Sancho, but at least it's being communicated to you, the fans, and I'm sure we all collectively wish Jadon the best. And I know he's probably not going to see any of the social media support because that's something that he's decided to take a step back from, which might be good for him. But I guarantee you that support is there from Manchester United football fans, and we'll see what happens with it. But and bringing it back to a very footballing level, of course, it is a concern because we are a football club. You know, we're not here to analyse footballers' private lives. As I've said time and time again, I know football players for Manchester United who, when they were playing for United, were absolute legends and you wanted them to play every week and were absolute arseholes off the pitch. You can't... I think we've become locked into this world that, you know, you're right. I suppose it's idolism, isn't it? You know, this player is a player I love, so they've got to be really nice off the pitch. Don't meet your idols. They always say that, don't they? These footballers are there to deliver in a Man United shirt. What they're like off the pitch is an irrelevance in some sense, isn't it? And we need Jadon Sancho on the pitch. We've got Marcus Rashford, Anthony Martial, and Anthony, and then we're screwed basically. You know, Garnacho looks very exciting, but you've got to nurture him. He can't play every week. Alanga just doesn't look ready for it at all, and then that's it. So we need Sancho back. We need him for competition. We need him to be challenging for a place. We need Sancho back. Charlie says, you hit the nail on the head. The word is consistency. We're not consistent on the pitch, and even more alarmingly, we're not consistent in the market. Yes, well, look, that leads me on to my next point. I don't know whether anybody saw it today, but I thought it'd be an interesting thing to bring into the news show. So Sky Bets, Odds Checker, whatever you want to call it, there are loads of betting organisations out there. We're not here to promote that, but what I am here to talk about is the betting odds on Manchester United signing GAKPO. So I saw this morning on the Manchester Evening News website, and they had an article on it, and I think these odds were, I can't remember who the odds were from, but basically we need a strike. We need to buy an attacker. I mean, this Sancho situation, worst case scenario, he could be out for another month. So I don't think that will be the case. I think he'll be back for the Forest game, but obviously not the Burnley game. We've got Anthony and Rashford and Martial. One injury or bad performance, you're using Garnacho. So, and we do want to use Garnacho, but we want to develop him. So we've got to bring a forward in, especially with this thing going on with Sancho. So I was saying yesterday on the Hotometer, I'm 70% sure that we'll get GAKPO because I just can't see anybody else. This is what the odds are of United getting GAKPO at the moment: 2-1. 2-1 with the highest, lowest odds by a long way, sorry. So we're firm favourites with the bookies, bookmakers, betting odds, etc. to get GAKPO at 2-1. Interestingly, second favourite at 7-1, which is a big jump from 2-1, is Newcastle. Newcastle are 7-1. And then you've got Barcelona and Liverpool at 10-1. And then you've got Arsenal at 12-1. So, you know, I'm confident that's the player we're going to go for. I'm sure some of you are confident that that's the player that we're going to go for. But the betting odds are, excuse me, the betting odds are very much firmly in our favour. And it got me thinking again today. I just can't see where we go if we don't get him. Talk to me, people. I've just got no idea. Dylan says, I can see Ten Hag turning Sancho into a beast of footballer, coming back and ripping up the Prem. And Mark, what do you think of Donny? Dylan, I don't think Ten Hag's a magician. I really don't. And I think you make a really great point because you compare a player with another player. And I think Ten Hag is desperate to get something out of Donny van de Beek because Solskjaer didn't, because Ajax sold him to Man United, because Erik Ten Hag knows everything about Donny. And I wouldn't say it's over for Donny yet, but I'm 85% sure it is. Like, you know, it's just gone so badly for Donny. And I think Ten Hag is desperate to get something out of him. He played him 3 games in a row, and even I was thought, bloody hell, he's done well to start there. I just don't... I think that the injury he had at the start of the season for a long time was odd, and it's left him with a very short period of time to impress, and he hasn't. So, look, Ten Hag's not a magician. I don't think we can sit here and say he's definitely going to turn Sancho into a beast because he can't do it with Donny. You know, sometimes you just can't do it. But I certainly think he'll try with both players. Is there a chance Garnacho is going to go to Real Madrid, says Augustin? No, I don't think so. I think he'll sign another contract with Manchester United. But would you take Tielemans as a Fred replacement, says Toon? You know what? I love it when people mention Tielemans because I would love Tielemans at Manchester United. I think it'd be perfect for what we need. We need another midfielder that can basically challenge Eriksen and, you know, cover for Casemiro. Now, I'm not saying that Tielemans is better than Eriksen, and he's certainly not better than Casemiro, but he's more than capable of playing in the midfield too, and he's done it for most of his career at Leicester. He's Premier League proven, and he's out of contract in the summer, so he's available for a very cheap price. But United are just not in for him. He was meant to go to Arsenal in August. That's what I was told in June, and I was very surprised. I was always told it was going to happen at the end of the August transfer window, which is always precarious because obviously Leicester may well have said, you know, we're not going to let him go, etc. But I suspect he'll probably still go to Arsenal. But we should have, you know, as Makish says, we missed the trick on Lema. Lema's going for free. Tielemans is going for cheap. We need a midfielder. I've seen today that we got linked to, I can't remember who said it, Bentancur from Spurs. We've been linked to Bruno Guimaraes. These are not going to be easy deals to do when you're dealing with clubs that are, you know, higher in the table than us. So I think the most likely player that United will go for is probably Caicedo, but I would go for Tielemans, yes. I think he'd be a decent player to bring in. But as I say, I think GAKPO looks just... If we don't get GAKPO, and I'm not saying we definitely will, I wonder where we end up. Navish says, I feel for Jayden, but I love how Erik Ten Hag has handled the situation, and it shows the manager sees him as part of his future. Great show, all the best, says Navish. Thank you very much. And also, I think it's very important as well that just because Jadon Sancho or any other player is going through issues off the pitch doesn't mean that Erik Ten Hag has to, stand by them as a footballer. If he doesn't feel that Jadon Sancho is good enough for Manchester United, then he will move him on, and that's the right thing to do. But I agree with Navish that as of right now, that's not the time to make that decision. 100% Ten Hag will not be looking to make that decision, and 100% he's doing everything in his power to get Jadon Sancho back fit in both senses of the word to play for Manchester United and see what he can do between now and the end of the season, because there's a lot of games. I think if we hit the summer and Sancho hasn't improved, then maybe there will be a conversation by Erik Ten Hag about that then. But until that point, I just don't see it. Big up to Erik Ten Hag for his management skills, says Shane. Oh yeah, there was an update. We still keep getting linked to Pulisic as well. Now, I don't know why this story keeps happening. It seems to. I don't know. It just seems to go round and round and round in circles, and where it's coming from is always very. Sometimes it's a relatively credible outlet, and then it's complete nonsense. But I do just think this story is complete nonsense about Christian Pulisic coming to Manchester United. As RS7 says, we don't really need any wingers. I think Pulisic is a good player, but it's just, why would Chelsea do that? You wouldn't do that. I like him. Jonathan says he's better than Sancho. I like Pulisic. He's got many injury issues in his time at Chelsea. I'd like United to have gone for him from Dortmund, but he's not the solution for what United are looking at now. And the thing about Ten Hag is there's not really a player you can go, he's not a Ten Hag type of player, because if you look at what he did at Ajax, some of the Premier League flops he took in, and turned them into good players. I don't think there's look at Rabiot and Arnautovic in the summer. They were very unlikely, but he obviously saw something in them. So I wouldn't say that Ten Hag wouldn't want Pulisic. I don't think that. I just don't think that Chelsea would do that deal. And I don't think United would be able to do that deal. And the only deal you would do with Christian Pulisic would be a loan deal anyway, which Chelsea would be stupid to do. I mean, imagine Man United loaning Jadon Sancho to Chelsea. Like, you would never do it. So why would they loan Pulisic to us? Because, what if he does really well and we finish fourth and they finish fifth? It's just not going to happen, and I don't know why it keeps happening. Dumfries seems to be on the move, says Nelly, offered to Chelsea. Well, the agent of Dumfries last week, we spoke about it, publicly said that, he didn't want the price of Dumfries to go up because then it made it harder for him to get a transfer. For whatever reason, Dumfries wants out of Inter, and his agent certainly wants him out of there as well. So I don't know why that is. If anyone does, then please do let us know. But certainly they are looking to move him on, which is, of course, a consideration, considering Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag wanted him in the summer, but has the development of Delot meant that's... Dumfries he's not young, he's in his mid-20s, and he wants to play football. You'd be benching Delot to bring Dumfries in, and you're trying to negotiate a new contract with Delot. I just don't see that happening, but... What do I know? McKennie for 26 million for Juventus, says Robin. I do like McKennie. I think he's... But is he better than Tielemans, who is cheaper than that? Is he better than Lema, who went for a free? Look, and also, if you're talking about the World Cup, I preferred Muzza and Tyler Adams to McKennie, so... should United not be trying to go for the best of the three, if that's what the attraction is? I think there's better options out there. But as I said, the interesting profile of Erik Ten Hag is that he might look at McKennie and go, I can make him even better. And I'm interested to see when we actually do make a signing like that, because Eriksen was very obvious. We know the qualities of Eriksen, even though he's a free. But at some point, I think Erik Ten Hag is going to buy a Rabiot or a McKennie or someone like that maybe doesn't really get the heart racing on who it is, but he feels he can take to a next level. Frostbite says, yes, Mark, I was going to mention Pulisic. I see his name everywhere over US media, and Chelsea have stated a loan to United or a swap with Newcastle. If United don't get GAKPO, would Show Speed be next? If no GAKPO, then what? Thank you, Frostbite. If we don't get GAKPO, my concern has always been Memphis. That's my concern. It's an easy deal to do. Nobody really of any note is looking at him, and he's free because Barcelona want to get rid of him. That to me is not how you go and get top four or build a team to challenge for the title over the next 2 years. You go and buy the younger player that can be developed, which is Cody Gakpo. So yeah, my fear is that we end up with Memphis if we don't get Gakpo. But we've got to deliver. We've got to deliver with Gakpo. I think we all know that 100%. Yeah. Okay. What about the German lad from yesterday's show, Anthony? That's Makuku. Yeah, I had an update from this yesterday. I got a message from somebody who is pretty decent, and they said, I saw your video. He'll sign a new contract at Dortmund, so we'll have to wait and see with Makuku. Yeah, I got a message from someone last night saying that Makuku will sign a new contract at Dortmund, which probably looks quite likely, and it's probably the right thing for him to do. Of course, he's out of contract in the summer. He can speak to English and Spanish and non-German clubs in literally 3 weeks' time in January and sign a pre-contract deal. Yeah, I was told last night he'll end up staying at Dortmund. So there we go. And It's Fusion says there's nothing wrong with Depay. No, I like Memphis Depay. I just think it's the wrong signing for Manchester United because it's a freebie for a player that's basically flopped at Barcelona, and he has flopped at Barcelona. I like him, but he has. He's not been a success. There might be mitigating circumstances for that. But what did I just say about Erik Ten Hag? He will at some point buy a player that we go, or many of us go, I don't think that's the right signing, and turn them into something better. And maybe Memphis would be that. I don't know. Anyway, look, I need to go and blow my nose because since that sneeze, it's gone a bit runny. So I'm going to go and blow it. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. I'm back at 2 o'clock. Obviously tonight it's the France-Varane game against Morocco, so we won't have an 8 o'clock show tonight, but we will tomorrow. So we're back at 2 o'clock today. Make sure you subscribe. And if you want to be a member, click the members button. We've got a new video going out for you today. You can get exclusive weekly content on the members section, and you get your badge and everything like that. Thanks everyone. Have a great day, and I will speak to you all soon. Take care.